HBO's new darling, now that Game of Thrones is no more, Succession, has basically everything the fantasy series had, apart from dragons and disappointing endings. The comedy drama is packed full of intrigue, backstabbing, and smooth dialogue, and it seems like no one can stop talking about the Roy family, including us. In this video, we're going to take a look at 25 or so things that you might have missed, including moments of foreshadowing, improv, behind-the-scenes details, and of course, hidden Easter eggs. So let's go! Oh, and spoiler warning, there will be heavy Season 1 to 3 spoilers in this video. Alright, let's start off with the very end of Season 3, shall we? As you know, the show is rife with backstabbing, plotting, and betrayal, and of course, the end of Season 3 is no different, with Tom turning on Kendall, Roman, and even his own wife, Shiv, doing a deal with the devil and getting a good old slap on the back in return. In this moment, Tom basically becomes the favored pseudo-son by helping Logan nix the trio's plan to use the supermajority clause to prevent the company being sold from underneath them. This may have been a shocking betrayal in the moment, but we probably should have seen it coming.
Okay.
As the outsider, Tom has always had more to prove, which means that he had to make the biggest plays. For example, in Season 3, Episode 3, when he offers himself up to be the fall guy if the DOJ needs to imprison someone in the Waystar suit. Logan, impressed by his loyalty, gives him a big ol' slap on the back, just like he does at the end of Season 3. Other clues include Tom's hunch, where he gives his F-bomb-filled piece of advice to Kendall, hinting where his true alliances lie. The fact that Logan knew about the secret tea party with Donut Gate, indicating that he had a spy. In Episode 7 of Season 3, Logan squeezes Tom on the arm and whispers, "I'll remember," referring to Tom's act of loyalty. And finally, Tom's Nero and Sporus story that he tells to Greg effectively sums up their relationship and Tom's overarching plan. I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to seeing Emperor Tom in action in Season 4, although if word on the street is to be believed, it will likely be the show's last. The show makes plenty of references to a number of classic plays such as King Lear and Oedipus Rex, but the show also makes a reference to The Great Gatsby with the character of Kendall. For example, all of the pool and drowning imagery. Now, while Kendall didn't die like Gatsby after his near-death experience in a pool, the moment has been foreshadowed throughout the course of the show, and that episode in particular is rife with images of water. Season 2 begins with Kendall slowly rising out of the water, which is effectively the opposite of the moment in Season 3 when he slowly descends into it. Other moments include the moment where he gets into a car crash with a caterer at Shiv's wedding, with the car sinking to the bottom of a bog. The moment where Kendall has a panic attack in an empty bath, and Logan's line in Season 1 where he says, "I don't want him showing up dead at the bottom of some French, expletive deleted's, pool." While Kendall may have escaped his watery grave for now, don't be too surprised if he finds himself there once again before the show wraps up.
Okay.
As we mentioned, one of the biggest inspirations for Succession is the Shakespearean play King Lear, which centers on the mythological Lear of Britain. The play focuses on the idea of succession and what happens to the patriarch, King Lear, after he relinquishes his power and land to two of his daughters. And the play has been inspiration to many notable works over the decades, such as Akira Kurosawa's epic Ran. Succession references many elements of the plot in the show, but the most direct reference is the name Roy, which is derived from the Old French word rey, meaning king. On the subject of origins of names, Logan means hollow, take from that what you will. Shiv means pure. Roman means strong and powerful. Connor means wise. And Kendall means Valley of the River Kent. Yep, I was expecting more from that one too. Now going back to that Season 3 finale now, for the promotion of the most recent season, HBO released a number of posters with a line drawn between Kendall and Logan, with the rest of the characters lining up behind one or the other, with each poster having different family members on different sides every time. However, there was one that did show how the final battle lines were drawn, with Tom and Greg behind Logan while the others lined up behind Kendall. Succession may have some A-listers behind it, with Adam McKay and Will Ferrell serving as producers for the show, but the creator Jesse Armstrong has some more humble roots, with him writing on the show Thick of It, as well as being co-creator for British shows Fresh Meat and my favorite comedy series of all time, Peep Show. The comedy that follows characters even more dysfunctional than the ones seen in Succession, Jeremy Usborne and Mark Corrigan, or Mark Crorigan as it says on his book Business Secrets of the Pharaohs, still holds a place in many people's hearts, myself included. And a number of diehard fans who love the show more than Mark loves Johnson took to Reddit to share some Peep Show Easter eggs they noticed in Succession. One of the men from the Independent Investigative Committee who interviews Tom is called Stefan Strauss, which is the same name as the German CEO of the fictional company JLB in Peep Show. The Techno Gatsby line from Succession is a play on Jez's Techno Gandhi line in Peep Show, and Tom saying one of those urban things is a play on another one of Jez's lines. Also, Jesse Armstrong's production company is called Project Zeus, which is another reference to the almighty Peep Show. Now, despite some of the dialogue having hidden meanings, given Armstrong's background in comedy, a lot of the dialogue in Succession is unsurprisingly improvised. Speaking on his process, Armstrong said, having them all around a dinner table and having a couple of cameras running and saying, do the script, but then do some bits around it. I love that way of shooting. This allows the show to be more comedic and lighten the tone in sections of the show. An example of improvisation in Succession came during Season 1, with Logan's birthday meal, with Adam McKay revealing that the scene was completely improvised. While the cast apparently pushed back a little bit over a scene being fully improvised, in the end, they ultimately crushed it, and it added the organic feel that McKay was looking for.
Let's raise a toast.
Another example of a scene being improvised was Kendall's violent breakdown in the show's pilot. Actor Jeremy Strong, who is an extreme method actor, but more on that later, credited McKay for the scene and allowing him to follow the character's instincts, saying, I had some structural things in mind in terms of where I might start, and I asked the prop master to place certain objects in the room without telling me where they were. We did one take, and I followed the line of intuition. Throughout the show, Kendall and Shiv's costume changes reflect where they are in the show's arc. Shiv's outfits become much more corporate as the show goes on, while Kendall's suits often reflect his emotional state, such as his dark suit in the Season 2 finale as he turns the tables on his family in a thrilling press conference. However, Roman's outfits always remain the same, with him often wearing lighter suits that often reflect that of a typical TV villain. He's also more sloppy in terms of his dress sense as opposed to his other family members, often going beltless to show that he's much more carefree. Well, continuing with the clothes theme, while his children often wear fashionable, tight-fitting suits, Logan often wears softer, more loose-fitting clothing to signify that he is past his prime and a little more vulnerable than he once was. Well, that's one interpretation of his outfits anyway. Another is that he is so comfortable as top dog that his clothing reflects his state of mind. And seeing as he's still screwing everybody over, I feel like that could be the correct interpretation. And lastly, on the clothes theme, the subtle difference between the brands they wear tells you a little more about the characters themselves. Take, for instance, the sunglasses in the yacht scene in the episode This Is Not for Tears. In the scene, Shiv is wearing traditional Ray-Bans, a sign that she is loyal to old money rituals and does not want to be flashy, while Tom is wearing Purcell, a brand that is a little showier with its celebrity associations. In fact, Tom's garments are very important to him, and as the outsider, he's always trying to impress with the outfits he wears, and he gets a little bit tetchy with Shiv after her and Roman teased him on his boxy suit. Jeremy Strong's relationship with Adam McKay dates back to their time together on The Big Short, and it was actually McKay who suggested Strong audition for a role in Succession, asking him over lunch which character he would be most interested in. However, Strong didn't initially connect with the character of Kendall, but instead the character of Roman, and originally auditioned for the role before it went to the brother of Macaulay Culkin, Kieran Culkin. But Strong got another bite of the cherry and was asked back to audition for the role of Kendall, a character Strong eventually connected with as the scrappy underdog fueled by past motivations. The audition didn't originally go very well until Strong eventually turned up the gears and was given the role on the spot. On the other side of the coin, Kieran Culkin was actually given the script for the role of Cousin Greg, but found himself connecting more with the role of Roman, saying, "There was something that clicked with me in this character that's something I still don't understand, and probably don't want to understand considering the kind of guy he is." As we mentioned though, Jeremy Strong is a serious method actor, and an infamous profile on him by The New Yorker led to the likes of Aaron Sorkin and Jessica Chastain defending the actor's process. Strong would apparently remain in the character's costume when the cameras weren't rolling, go into the makeup tent by himself to make sure that he wasn't interacting with his co-stars, remain in character on set, and even ended up hurting his tibia, femur, and fracturing his foot while playing the role. Strong has said that he channels a lot of himself into the character and blurs the line between where he begins and where Kendall ends. Some of his co-stars, such as Brian Cox, who is a classically trained actor, have voiced concerns over Strong's approach, saying, "The result that Jeremy gets is always pretty tremendous. I just worry about what he does to himself. I worry about the crises he puts himself through in order to prepare. Whatever the process, you can't argue with the results." Speaking of Cox, I'm talking about the actor, get your mind out of the gutter. It was actually the actor's suggestion that the character of Logan be born in Scotland in his hometown of Dundee. However, the producers initially rejected this, opting instead to have the character's birthplace be Quebec, Canada, but eventually changed it to Dundee as the show progressed. Just saying, it should have been Aberdeen. That's a Peep Show reference. Now, a lot of people have drawn connections between the Roys and the real-life media moguls, the Murdochs, but Jesse Armstrong has categorically denied that the Roys are solely based on the family. In fact, the inspiration behind the family is an amalgamation of the Murdochs, the Redstones, and the Hearsts. However, one thing that was influenced by the Murdochs was the Roy homes. Set decorator George DeTitta Jr. said that he did some research online of the Murdoch media offices to get inspiration for how to design the one seen in the show. Oh, and quickly, speaking of the Murdochs, Elizabeth Murdoch is apparently a fan of the show and relates to the character of Shiv. As you know, New York City is essential to the show and is a character in its own right. So unsurprisingly, the show is actually shot there. Logan Roy's NYC apartment is on Billionaires Row, and some of the scenes are actually shot there for the views, and it belongs to a real-life billionaire. Although the interior is fake and recorded on a soundstage. Waystar Royco is actually located in the tallest building in NYC, the One World Trade Center, and although most scenes are also filmed on a soundstage, some are filmed in the building for the unique views it provides. However, the props seen in these fancy buildings were actually sourced from outside of NYC, with set decorator George DeTitta Jr. saying that he sourced high-end antiques from Newell Props, First Dibs, John Street Antiques, and a number of antique stores in Westport and Stamford, Connecticut to give the set an authentic feel. While Strong throws himself deep into the character of Kendall, when asked which actor is most like their on-screen character, the cast emphatically agreed that Nicholas Braun is almost exactly like Greg and is the most similar to his character. However, when talking about the influence of Greg, Braun said that he was partly inspired by a guest he noticed at a wedding and his awkward dancing. Braun said he was just recklessly himself on the dance floor, not judging himself for it at all, not embarrassed, and everybody's looking at him and being like, what the hell? I thought there's a part of Greg that's like this guy. He can really enjoy fearlessly this world. As we mentioned earlier, the locations of Succession are extremely impressive, and while it takes place for the most part in New York, they have traveled to various luxurious locations across the globe. One such venue was Eastnor Castle in Herefordshire, England, where the show shot for real for Shiv's wedding. While King Lear, Oedipus, and Gatsby might be some understandable influences on the show, the most surprising influencer is former President Bill Clinton. Apparently, after meeting at a party in the Hamptons, Clinton reportedly pitched actor Nicholas Braun a ton of great ideas for the show. How many were used is unclear, but I mean, the guy's a published author. Now, we can't imagine the show without him, but apparently the Roy patriarch Logan was actually supposed to die in season 1. The show's creators were planning on killing Logan off and letting his offspring battle it out in the void left by him. But after having discussions with the actor, they decided to, thankfully, keep him around for the long haul. For the twist in the season 1 finale, Armstrong decided to use a piece of US history for reference, taking off of the fatal 1968 car accident Ted Kennedy was involved in, which resulted in the death of Mary Jo Kopechne, the other person in the car with him. Now this one goes out to all you X-Men fans out there. While many people will be aware that Brian Cox played the role of William Stryker in X2, he isn't the only Succession actor to have played the role. Danny Huston, who appears in the second season of the show, also played Stryker at a different age in X-Men Origins Wolverine, roughly around 20 years before the events of X2.
Your country needs you. I'm Canadian.
Back on the subject of locations now, outside of their NYC homes, Logan Roy also has a summer home in the Hamptons. The real location of this house is actually in the Hamptons, and it was an estate built for Henry Ford's grandson in the 1960s. And finally, while he may play his father on the show, Brian Cox, who was born in 1946, is actually only 10 years older than Alan Ruck, who was born in 1956, who plays his son Connor. It's like Sean Connery and Harrison Ford in The Last Crusade all over again.